You found us. It's Emil. It's Emil Guillermo. Emil Amok to you. My takes on all things considerable. This is our. It truly is a secret podcast. It's you can't find this. If you found us, you're lucky. It's because I stumbled onto this Twitter account. Oh, it's not even called Twitter anymore. That's how secret it is. Or maybe on Facebook, fb.com/EmilGuillermo.media or Emil Guillermo, or on YouTube at Emil Amok 1. That's where we are. We do this because we can. And I've gone through the news and I've got something to tell you. I got something to share with you. Like I said, my takes on all things considerable. I hope you had a nice weekend. It's Monday. The Olympics have begun, and I'll get into that. Apparently, I noticed this because I subscribe to Peacock and all that, and then also on YouTube TV, they've got ways to get, that multi-view. So the technology has finally caught up with the Olympics so that you can watch as many things as you want or can, and it doesn't get in the way. And it would be nice to be in Paris. Yeah, it would be nice to be in Paris, but it's sort of good that you don't have to be in Paris and you can jump around, get the judo and the swimming and the equestrian and a lot of big controversy with dressage. You notice how the horses, their necks are all like, they look like they've been it's like foot binding for the neck for the horse. That's what they do in dressage. Big controversy. And of course, PETA is involved in exposing it because they torture the horses in dressage. So that was one of the big things this weekend. They were showing basketball, of course, and volleyball and table tennis, and Simone Biles was jumping around. But dressage is where the cruelty occurs in terms of how horses are treated. Some footage that was leaked to PETA, they got out into the world, showing how these horses go through this binding process where their necks are forced downward, so that when you see a horse and you see it, going through the paces in dressage, you think, wow, that's a beautiful horse. And that's so unnatural the way he curves it. Yes, it is unnatural. It's not normal. So anyway, is it about time we call for the banning of dressage, or for that kind of equestrian kind of activity that requires torture? I think it may be. I think that may be in the offing. Anyway, I was watching the Olympics and I was thinking, boy, this is a far cry from, if you recall this, the Olympic triple cast. How many people remember that? Am I the only one? The triple cast was terrible. It was like on UHF, on cable, on broadcast, maybe on the web. It was only three. There was the triple cast. But now the technology is caught up so that we can be everywhere. And so the ratings are up. The last report I saw, the ratings for the Olympics are up, unless, of course, you are a conservative Christian and were offended by any of the opening ceremony. I did not see all of the opening ceremony. I saw some of the part that people are upset with, but I mostly saw athletes in boats in the rain, and I thought that was kind of interesting. I've been to France, to Paris specifically, a number of times, and I guess I never realized how big that damn river is. The Seine is a big damn river. And to see all the boats come by, there's something majestic about that. And then to have the Eiffel Tower and the Arc de Triomphe, it's just a fantastic setting, I think, for the Olympics. The summer, this would have been like I was in Paris 50 years ago. as a teenager, and part of me would have liked to have gone, but Paris in August is hot, and it's much easier to experience the Olympics with all the technology from cable and Peacock and all that apps in the comfort of my 110 degree living room, or my living room in 110 degree heat. Although now, where I am I'm not going to call it Central California. I'm going to call it Middle California. It is middle. It's middle California. Central makes it sound like it's kind of important. It's the center. No, it's middle. It's the middle. So here I am in the middle California. It's now no longer 110, 108. We're getting our first, maybe potentially not even 90 degree day today. So I'm watching the Olympics, and then I get an email to say, go check out this documentary on the food we eat. It was from the Whole Food Network. And so I watched that, and it actually made me feel proud to be a vegan. Because if you have not changed and become a vegan yet, or at least part-time, if you're a part-time vegan, like maybe every other day or every other week, you would do much more to help out climate change, global warming, do much more than getting an EV, for example, or getting an electric, some kind of hybrid. Because I know a lot of people say, yeah, I'm doing my bit. I got an EV. Well, okay, but get this. The agribusiness does more to exacerbate climate change than all of the oil companies combined. The huge agribusiness, and we're talking about feeding the world, they do more to exacerbate climate change. And it's because of, when you talk about, okay, we got to strip down the forest, ding. We got to grow food on the land that strips down the forest, ding. That food does not go to people. That food goes to the animals that are fed to the people. And that process of feeding the animals and the byproduct of that process, methane, the runoff, the fecal runoff, the pollutants from that part, that does more to contribute to climate change than you think, than anyone thinks. And if we all just said no to the agribusiness and the factory farms that give us not just the beef and the pigs, but we're also talking about the chickens, we would be so much better off in terms of contributing to ending or trying to curb climate change, trying to curb, that problem, than simply buying an EV. I mean, I sort of, when I saw that stat on the screen in this documentary, I was kind of shocked, but it's true. So if you are driving an EV thinking you're doing all you can and haven't become vegan, now's the time to go vegan. Now you know where the big differences can be made. You can be more effective by going vegan, more effective in fighting climate change by going vegan than you can by stopping driving or going to an EV or some kind of hybrid vehicle. Going vegan. And here's something I thought, if we didn't have to have the ag business, so focused on meat production, dairy, meat, dairy cows, meat, cattle, pigs, chicken's by far the worst in terms of number. But if we weren't feeding that agribusiness, oh, the fish too. If you think, oh, I'm going to get by just eating fish, well, the fish are wreaking havoc in terms of the fishermen who are out there trying to catch them, and the pollutants they leave from their old fishing gear and nets. And no, it's you see a documentary like the one I just saw on the Whole Food Network, and you say to yourself, I got to stop eating any kind of meat, and I include the fish. And then, you say, come on, Emil, you can eat fish, can't you? Well, if you want mercury poisoning, if you don't think you're getting enough mercury, yeah, sure, eat the fish. But no, you got to include the fish. So I was thinking, maybe we'll come to the point, if we stop all the ag business and the factory farming, and we just had, we say, okay, I might see a trade-off if I say, look, you can have your Second Amendment, all you conservatives who must eat your meat because you got to have your gun. You can hunt if that's the only way you can get your meat, but you can't get your meat by going to the grocery. But in exchange for that right, that Second Amendment right, we get rid of all factory farming. That might be a compromise. Look, I'm thinking about you. They call them 2As, Second Amendment folks. All you 2A right-wing conservatives, you can have your 2A, and you can have your hunting, not your fishing. We'll draw the line at fishing, because the farm fish, oh my God, disease, and it's terrible. So that's off the table. That's banned. But maybe hunting will allow you to hunt and have your guns, but in exchange for that, we ban all factory farming for cows, chickens, and pigs. That might be a fair compromise. I'm trying to help both sides see the middle. That might be a fair compromise. You can have your hunting, take your guns, go to a hunting preserve, try not to shoot each other, try to make it sporting, maybe make it more sporting than it is, instead of setting up on a rack or whatever they call it, like one of those stands, and just waiting for the deer to come in. I mean, but we're only allowing that because that's the only way you're going to be able to get meat. You're going to have to hunt it, because we're going to ban the ag business that has factory farming. No factory farming for cows, chickens, or pigs. I think that's kind of an excellent compromise. Don't you see some conservatives saying, yeah, that's a good idea, because then you have to hunt, right? Then hunting is a necessity if you really must hunt. But then we can do some limits on the amount that because really hunting only works as a kind of birth control, right? Birth control for deer. Although I like birth control better. And that they've used it as a way to control the population for, say, wild pigs, that kind of thing. I'm just thinking out loud here because, like I said, I saw that documentary. It was out there for free on the Whole Food Network, or the Whole Food, I think it's called the Food Revolution Network. And it was just so disgusting to see what happens to our food, or how our food is made. So I was happy that I was totally vegan this weekend. Well, I'm always totally vegan, but it felt good to be vegan. It felt good to be knowing that, okay, I don't have a full EV, but I'm doing what I can, and what I'm doing is better than all those guys with the EVs. Or, like I said, the amount of the contribution to global warming that the entire agribusiness contributes, right? It's greater than the energy business, than the gas and oil, all those folks, the ag business, and primarily because of factory farming. That you got to stop. Go vegan while you can. It is the easiest way to say no to climate change. Really, the easiest way to say no to climate change. All right, so I saw the Olympics, after I saw that documentary. I enjoy watching the Olympics. Here's what I'm noticing. I talk a lot about Asian Americans. And, of course, Suni Lee is in there, in the gymnastics. Of course, she's getting somewhat overshadowed by Simone Biles. Simone Biles is back, no more twisties. She almost had a calf injury that some people thought might have taken her out of the competition on Sunday, but she competed. She was great. She's going to be, the gymnastics thing is going forward with Simone Biles leading the way. And, I don't say poor Suni Lee, but when Simone Biles was out and Suni Lee had to step up, and she was everything in Japan. That was her moment. She's even better. She's now in college, and she's great there. But let's see what happens with Suni Lee in her event. She's also in the individuals with Simone Biles. But I remember the last Olympics, we made a big deal about Suni Lee, and less so now because I think Simone Biles has caught the spotlight. But one thing I will say that is very noticeable, and it comes as people want to diss DEI, diversity, exclusion, or diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI. And then to the point where they're like, stripping it down and eliminating it from corporate programs. You want to see the good that DEI has done. You look at something as meritorious as gymnastics and see the good that DEI has done. You look at that team and you see a team that is so representative of everyone. Simone Biles leads the way, but there's whites and blacks and Hispanics and Asian. It just happens naturally if you commit to DEI and you allow people to participate and you allow people to compete. Then DEI doesn't have to be a bad phrase or a negative phrase. DEI becomes a philosophy that allows people to compete, and meritoriously you achieve a great national team. You look at that team, that gymnastics team, the U.S. gymnastics team, you say, wow, that shows that diversity works. That shows that DEI is not some kind of crackpot idea, that if you commit to it, you believe to it. Here you got a team that looks like America, that is great like America, and no one's making any excuses for it. No one's there because of their race. Everyone's there because they're great. And was diversity part of it? I don't know if diversity was part of it, but one of the coaches I saw interviewed said, yeah, you see people who look like you, if you're African American, Asian American, you see them competing, and you're a young girl, young gymnast, you see other people look like you, and you're motivated to try, and to, like, if you fail, to keep trying, because the champions look like you. Now imagine you were in a sport where there are no people of color, black, Hispanic, Asian, and it's all white. And the coach is white. And the coach is looking around at talent and sees you, a Filipino guy, says, oh, we don't have any Filipinos. You can't be good. You got to prove yourself. prove it on the field, prove it on the court, but you don't get a break because people aren't used to seeing people like you, non-white, person of color, compete. So when people say, hey, if you're a person of color, you got to perform twice as hard, you got to be twice as good. I mean, it's not a mistake that the gymnastics team has the look that it does. But they had to overcome a lot, not to mention pedophilia. But they had to overcome a lot. The image that, oh, we know what a champion gymnast looks like in terms of their, I mean, I suppose a champion gymnast has a certain height, weight, right? I mean, they do those exercises at an early age. It tends to, I don't know if it's scientifically proven that it stunts their growth, but they tend to be a certain size. But in terms of their ethnicity, if you went to a club and they were all white, and here you are, a black girl or an Asian girl or a Hispanic girl showing up, do they give you a break? Do they give you that kind of latitude to say, yeah, we'll work with her. We'll see her develop into a champion. I think it's harder. But now that these girls, these champions who are on the team now they've broken through, people say, hey, let's look at her. Anyway, that's just something I noticed when I heard or I saw the women's gymnastics team. You got to comment on their diversity. Now they're a team that looks like America. It's merit. It's merit too. So it shows that DEI works. I'm sure that there was some DEI component that allows kids to compete. They got to have the desire. But in the end, it's all about merit. It has to be if you're competing against the world. But the fact that you have 5 champions on that gymnastics team, the women's gymnastics team of the U.S., shows it works. The cream rises to the top if there's opportunity there. So kudos to the gymnastics team. And then look at all the other teams down the line too. You got to have the physical attributes to be a champion swimmer. I mean, there's a reason why swimmers tend to be long and lean, tall, not necessarily white, but I noticed, France really pumped up their guy who won the 400 individual medley, right? That's one I saw last night. But the thing that people are upset with the most about these Olympics is because they want to politicize everything, like the opening ceremony. I don't think the mechanical horse is a Bible reference. A lot of people say the mechanical horse, that's out of the Bible. It foretells the end of the earth. We're going to hell. No, I think that's just. It's a mythological thing, right? It's not the Bible. And I don't think the Last Supper was, people say, oh, this is the Last Supper. Then they're showing those drag queens. Well, that's what got people upset. That's what gets the right upset. Because they see everything as a way of these ultra liberals inculcating their kids with these values that are, well, I don't know. These aren't to say your kids should be drag queens unless they want to be. I mean, if your kids want to be drag queens, I guess, if you want to stand in the way of your kids' desires. But I don't think that was the purpose. The purpose of the Olympics, or that, why the drag queens were there, was to show that it's for everybody. Olympics are for everybody. It's not necessarily pro drag queen. It's pro inclusivity. It's pro people being what they are. And of course, they attracted the bigots who protested and said, "Oh, this is terrible." It's not terrible. If you didn't like it, you could turn away. You could look the other way. The Olympics, this isn't the transgender Olympics. It's still athletes, the best athletes competing against each other. And I was just surprised to hear that was a point of contention, the opening ceremony, which I usually do. I only last as long as the P's, because I want to see the Philippines and see what athletes they have. And the Philippines actually has some good athletes. They have the number 2 pole vaulter. The number 2 pole vaulter in the world is Filipino. So I guess I'll keep my fingers crossed to see how he does. I couldn't tell you who the number 1. I don't know who the number 1 pole vaulter is. America used to have the best pole vaulters, and then I don't know. I don't know who the number 1 pole vaulter is, but apparently the number 2 pole vaulter is Filipino. So I'm definitely going to see that. They had a half Filipino who won gold in épée, in fencing, yesterday, and that's great. I'll tell you, the Olympics is so diverse now that, like in table tennis, Hong Kong versus the U.S., I saw a match yesterday, and there was the Zhang, I believe they're sisters from Palo Alto. Their parents, one of their parents was like an Olympian in China, but they have since, the parents immigrated here. The kids went to Pali High in Palo Alto. They're stars. They're like U.S. table tennis stars. And they were up against Hong Kong. Imagine that. You've got Asian American Chinese up against Chinese. And I think that's a little hard for some people. Who are we rooting for? You're rooting for those. Oh, their outfits weren't clear. You're rooting for the American flag. You're rooting for those the Zhang sisters. Now, I just thought it's interesting because now you're having a lot of Americans who have ethnic backgrounds going to their parents' ethnic homelands to play, like for Canada or Mexico or any number of places. I'm sure there's some Filipino Americans who are competing for the Philippines if their parents are born in the Philippines. But here is, in the Zhang sisters in table tennis, Asian Americans, Chinese Asian Americans up against the Chinese. Well, I saw they were Hong Kongers, which I suppose it was called the Hong Kong team, which is funny because Hong Kong is part of China, but do they have their own team? We have to check that. But that was a match I saw yesterday. And then, how about the Chinese? Well, she's no longer a Chinese national. She was a member of the Chinese team at one point in her career, but now she's in her 70s, or is it like late 60s? She's older. I think she's 61. Story in the paper. She's 61, and now she plays, don't call it ping pong, Emil. She plays table tennis for Luxembourg. Luxembourg. How do you like that? Speaking of Luxembourg, an acquaintance of mine, Lori Kilmartin, I think she's going for Luxembourg citizenship. I think that she's an American. She was a comedian who I saw this weekend in Middle California. not calling it Central California. Central makes it sound like you're like part of the central brain or the central kitchen. And no, there's nothing central really about where this area. It's middle. It's the middle of California. It's northern it's north of Fresno, north of LA, south of Chico, south of Sacramento. It's in the middle. It's in the middle. So I think that's the appropriate name. Middle California. Anyway, so Luxembourg. Anyway, this Asian woman married a coach who is from Luxembourg. She now competes for Luxembourg, and she has a good shot of winning in table tennis. I was thinking that I would see more skateboarding by now, or more breakdancing, because those are the new sports. I've actually, during the times I've caught the Olympics, have seen more surfing. For some reason, I'm always on when there's surfing, and surfing's kind of interesting, but there's stories about surfing, and they're in Tahiti, which is the wild thing. But yeah, these Olympics are kind of fun. I like it also when it's not so nationalistic, right? I mean, I'm rooting for the excellence. I don't care where they're from, really. Maybe a little bit. My heart is, rooting for the U.S., but I like to see the best teams win, right? The best players win. Women's water polo, they showed some of that. And what do you know? Flava Flav is getting some face. Maybe he has the same agent as Snoop Dogg. Flava Flav and his clocks. He's out there rooting. He's like the hype man now for the U.S. women's water polo team. Flava Flav. Those who saw my show, Emil, Amok, Lost NPR host, know I have a Flava Flav joke. You'll have to see my show to get the Flava Flav joke. But he certainly has a better agent than me. He's out there hyping the U.S. women's water polo team. And one last mention on the women's soccer team. They play Germany, and they tend to dominate Germany. But, this team should dominate everybody pretty much. And they're just they seem like they're getting used to playing together. But, that front line, I was mourning Alex Morgan's being left off the team. But I think this front line is going to be pretty good. With Smith and Rodman and Swanson up there at the front. That's a good combo. Lynn Williams coming off the bench. I mean, these gals are scorers. So I'm always a Rose Lavelle fan. I guess she's more midfield, and you can tell she has the rose-colored headband. But yeah, I think that I used to coach soccer. I think they're gonna go far. Let's see. All right. So much for Olympics. The Kamala story. The one I'm following is and this was started because of the Black Network, right? The Black Network of women for Kamala. Then the men had to, there was like 40,000 women, and there had like another 40,000 men on a Zoom call. So tonight on Monday, they're going to have the white guys, the white dudes for Kamala, and they're hoping they should have. They're going to have a lot of, I think 6,000. They're going to have a lot of people raising money. She's raising money left and right. I have my one call. But that's sort of the controversy. Not the controversy, but all these groups, the news about Kamala is that she's exciting everybody. And it's dumbfounding the Republicans who don't know what to do except to put Kamala down, mispronouncing her name continuously. Donald Trump says, that's the right way. No, it's not the right way. Kamala, those are wrong. Kamala, he continues to mispronounce. her name, calling her dumb continuously. Not a good look. And it's alienating. It's alienating to people who you might want to attract, namely younger people of color who might say, maybe Donald Trump has something to tell me. Maybe Donald Trump has something to say to me. And the answer is, no, he doesn't. He doesn't. He doesn't. So Kamala's on a roll. She's getting the white guys behind her. And the latest is that they've come up with this one-word phrase. Tim Walz has come up with it, the governor of Minnesota. He's come up with this idea that, hey, whatever the Republicans are doing are just weird. It's just weird. And it made me think of that Hunter Thompson phrase about weird. When the going gets weird, the weird turn pro is the phrase. And I was recounting it to a friend, and I said, because it's a variation of the Vince Lombardi phrase, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. That's the Vince Lombardi phrase. I thought the Hunter S. Thompson phrase was, when the going gets tough, the tough go weird. But no. The correct phrase, Hunter S. Thompson said it in 1974, when the going gets weird, the weird turn pro. And that's what the Republicans are doing. The Republicans are using their weird for all the marbles. They see Kamala out fundraising them. They see Kamala out enthusiasm them. They see Kamala out everything them. Just because Joe Biden steps aside, they don't know what to do. So it's a weird situation for the Republicans. They thought they were going to run against this old guy, Joe Biden. And now it's really weird. And now the weird are turning pro. Trump, Vance, and the cat ladies. I don't know. J.D. Vance talking about the cat, saying, hey, it's a joke. You can't joke. You can't joke about it. You can't have it both ways. You can't be serious. I mean, they were being serious. This is like what you do when you get caught. You say, it's a joke. It's a joke. It's not a joke. They meant it. We're just being metaphorical. No. So I guess, one thing that was pointed out is how the right really lacks a sense of humor. I think you're seeing that. And they can dish it out, but they can't take it. So the weird are turning pro. So maybe more cat lady talk, because I don't see it. Every time J.D. Vance tries to disavow it like a joke or it's not, it just sticks. It just sticks because of the things he has said about his vision of the family. And now, if you have children, you should have more say in what goes on in this family, in this government, in our country. If you are a parent, you should have more rights than people who aren't parents. If you have children, you should have more rights than the childless. That is where J.D. Vance is coming from. And I think he realizes that's just not a sane position to have. Not if you're running for vice president. Not if you're running for Donald Trump or with Donald Trump. Trump doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what to do. He just continues to attack Kamala Harris because he thinks that's always worked. I just attack, ad hominem attacks. That's always worked. No, it's not going to work now. Because people will see you as misogynist, people will see you as racist, and it will solidify your racist and misogynist base. And a lot of that is mostly men. So that doesn't surprise me that a lot of men according to polls, seem to be backing Trump. But I think this is early in the game. And this is Kamala by herself. You wait till she picks a vice president. And right now, early on, you heard a lot about Roy Cooper, because Cooper was being term limited in North Carolina. Harris had a good relationship with Cooper. I mean, you hear a lot of things like that. Harris has a good relationship with Mark Kelly in Arizona. You get Gabby Giffords. But I tend to think that they're not going to pick Kelly because they want Arizona in the Senate for good. They're probably not going to pick Cooper because you haven't seen him on TV as much. He might be good in terms of what he's able to do. I mean, this is really pick your best white man, right? Shapiro, I don't think she's going to pick Shapiro because he's not popping up. The guy who's popping up is this guy Walz. Walz from Minnesota, the governor. He used to be in the Congress. Now he's governor, and he's kind of cool. He's the one who first used the term weird, and now it's stuck. And if you see more Tim Walz in the next, Harris says she's going to make a pick by the 7th. I think she said the 7th. If you see more Tim Walz, get to know Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota. Minnesota has been traditionally Democratic for like decades, going back to Nixon. It wouldn't surprise me if she went with Walz, and the Congress likes Walz, former colleague. It's not so weird to say Walz. Okay, I talked about food. Oh, let's talk about Biden's court thing. This is important because Biden wrote an op-ed that appeared in the Washington Post today. Gave his speech within the hour, and he wants to reform the Supreme Court, and it's high time he did, right? High time he called for it, because he wasn't a big supporter for that. But I think what you realize with the Supreme Court, forever is a long time. Lifetime appointments have these forever consequences. And I'm sure there's some people who right now want to see some change because they don't have forever to see change. So Biden proposed these changes that include, on the Supreme Court, that include an enforceable code of ethics, term limits for justices. Well, we know by enforceable code of ethics because right now they have a code of ethics, but it's not enforceable. So it's made the court political when all these donations come to justices like Clarence Thomas and to Samuel Alito, and even Justice Roberts is not untainted, given that his wife has received some benefits from different political players. That you wonder, does it have any impact on Roberts, or should he at least declare it? So an enforceable code of ethics, that's important. And then term limits for justices, because these justices are in for a lifetime. I think the number is 18. They want 18 years, which should be long enough to make your mark. Clarence Thomas would be long gone. Roberts would soon be gone. It would be a long time. And then maybe we wouldn't have to wait 50, 60 years for a change. We could see changes early if there was a consensus. So term limits for justices and a constitutional amendment that would limit the justices' recent decision on presidential immunity. Now, a lot of this will take constitutional amendments. Term limits would have to take a constitutional amendment, as well as that presidential immunity ruling. And that's probably not going to happen, not with this Congress. So it's a kind of wish list, and it puts it on the table as an agenda item worth talking about, instead of an agenda item that people just take for granted and then everyone forgets. And then when the Supreme Court makes a decision, people scurry and say, well, which president appointed that guy? Oh, that was a Bush appointee? Oh, and we weren't thinking about that. Alito was a Bush appointee. We weren't thinking about that when we voted for Bush. Or that was a Trump appointee. Oh, we weren't thinking about it. You see, now it's on the table. Now we know it. But I don't think people take it as seriously as they should. But with Biden putting out this wish list, I think now we have to consider it. I mean, because the only way we would get to this wish list if we take it seriously and say, yeah, well, here's how we do this. We got to make some changes in Congress, get some people in, get people interested in all the races down ballot, because that has an impact on the justices. If you want to make a constitutional amendment. So AP is citing a poll in July 2022 that said 67% of Americans support a proposal to set a specific number of years that justices serve instead of terms. So 82% of Democrats and 57% of Republicans. It's popular. It should happen. 18 years is Biden's proposal, and that would be, I think, preferable to lifetime tenure. Of course, you're for lifetime tenure if it's your guy, but I think in these times of drought, you realize, 18 is pretty long. That's a compromise. So all these things coming up, perhaps it's like I said, a wish list. It's not going to get done while Biden's in office, but the fact that he's pointing that way shows he's seen the light. Because during his term, early on, stuff like this was proposed and floated, and Biden has, frankly, dragged his feet. Axios reports that Biden didn't share this idea he had with Congress, members of the Judiciary Committee, which shows how last minute this was, or how he just wanted to keep it close to the vest. But we're probably not going to see it. Not anytime soon. But we might as well put it on the agenda as something that will engage and get people motivated to do something down ballot from the president. Because, if you get the Congress, then, a constitutional amendment is possible. If you control all three branches of, legislative, executive, judicial branch, makes governing a whole lot easier. It's possible. Term limits for judges. 18 years in the same black robe. It just gets stale. I'm telling you, it gets stale. All right, we're going to wrap it up. like I said, I went to a place that serves meat. I don't know, just wanted to get away from the kitchen and give ourselves a break. But we went vegan. Vegan option. Vegan option, cauliflower. You can do cauliflower with. I mean, cauliflower wings are not bad. That's not a bad option. Now, can you get the right sauce with that? Now, we could have made better cauliflower wings out of our air fryer, but got lazy. But still, I'm glad there was a vegan option. And here's what I hope you'll do. And you can especially do this when it's hot. You can try veganism. I mean, there are 3 reasons to do it, right? You do it for the environment, you do it for the animals, and what is the 3rd reason that you do it? The environment, the animals, and oh shoot, it was an acronym that I had, and I forgot the 3rd acronym, the 3rd, what the T stands for. No. I have to come back. No, it's not EAT. The EAT is not the acronym. There's another acronym. But you got to do it for the animals, and you got to do it for the environment. You do it for yourself, too. You do it for your body, right? Those are the 3 things. And the summertime is a good time to go vegan because, number 1, you're all about your body, right? Because you're wearing no clothes. So there. Go vegan. You'll keep your shapely shape. The environment, like I said, it's hot. The heat is a reminder that climate change is real. How do you do something about climate change? You do more for climate change by going vegan than you do by getting an electric car, by buying a hybrid. You do more for climate change by not eating meat. Because of all the resources that go into preparing the food and making the space for the agribusiness to prepare the animals, the cows, the pigs, the cattle, prepare all that for the people. In fact, most of the soy products or most of the soy that's grown goes to feed the animals that people then eat. And all that contributes to the climate crisis. If you stop eating meat, you have a small impact. But every time you eat 3 times a day, you have a say. You cast a vote every day, every time you eat. And even when you fast, you're not eating animals, you're casting a vote. So think about going vegan. And if you say, come on, Emil, it's hard to go. I know it's hard to go vegan, but the summer is easy. Summer's easy. It's hot, wearing fewer clothes. Yeah, you want to look good in your few clothes? Hey, go vegan. Take care of your body. You think about the animals. Oh, yeah, you can't eat those animals. And then you do good for the environment. It's hot. How can you make an impact? Don't go to barbecues. I actually met some people this weekend who are meat eaters and they just cop to not liking barbecue. They say, I don't know, barbecues, it's like oversubscribed. It's like, why do people like barbecue? I think we were talking about Texas. Texans love barbecue. But really, sugar on meat, overcooked, burnt sugar. Oh, that the burntness, that's bad. That's potentially carcinogenic. But I heard them say, I was just wondering when more people will pick up on that line that, yeah, ribs, bad, meat, bad, summertime barbecues, bad. Much better salads, gazpacho, meat-based or plant-based, vegan. Eat all you want. Remember the Weight Watchers point system? Eat all you want. Vegetables. 0 points. There's a reason why there's 0 points. Go vegan, huh? Go vegan. All right. Winding down. Oh, I discovered the power of chanting this weekend. The 3 syllables, 3 chant syllables, ah, om, and hum. Ah, om, and hum. It revitalized my meditation practice. I'll come back. We'll do a chanting sometime in the future. But for now, let's close it off. Hey, I wanted to mention Marianne Williamson, because I got an email from her staff, because she sees the light. She sees what's happening with Kamala Harris. I like Marianne Williamson. And she says 6 p.m. on Saturday was the deadline for filing as a Democrat running against Kamala Harris. We did everything possible to stand for a blitz primary, an open convention, and so forth. Yet the way the rules were made, there truly was no way. Kamala's momentum was in full swing, and all we could have done is create noise. As I've made clear from the beginning, I was in the race to create fundamental change, yes, but not as a chaos agent or metaphorical bomb thrower. Things being what they are, including the fact that defeating Donald Trump has always been and continues to be the goal that matters most, it was time to let go. To those of you who have contributed to my campaign as a volunteer, voter, or donor, I salute you and thank you. For years, I've been intrigued by Gandhi's message that politics should be sacred. On both my campaigns for president, I saw things that convinced me it could be that way. People entering the political conversation, not only with their heads, but with their hearts, not with anger, but with love, willing to look beyond artificial divides, honoring the truths of our history, bringing the fullness of themselves to the process, and harnessing all those things for political purposes. I saw it, I felt it, I know it's possible. Ultimately, I did not build a campaign that could achieve it. Some of the responsibility for this lay with others. I never encountered the corruption and lack of ethics I saw lobbed against our campaign, but I take 100% responsibility for what we did and did not achieve. If I'd done this or not done that, been smarter here or savvier there, our ship still might have made it to harbor. What matters to me most, however, is not what we didn't achieve, but what we did achieve. And we achieved a lot. There were moments too numerous for me to count where I know without a shadow of a doubt that we shed light in the darkness of confused minds, inspired hope in the spirit of hopeless citizens, and motivated people to get involved and stay involved until justice shall be done. Staying involved is what I will do, and I'm sure you will as well. Anything we experience can be grist for the mill, and as we transition away from campaigning, I will do everything possible to contribute as best I can to the emergence of a better world. This is Marianne Williamson's, her farewell letter to people who checked out her campaign. I believe most Americans feel as I do, that America can do better, and one day we will. We're a nation in process, as we have always been, and while these are very turbulent times, they are not without the seeds of a new beginning. Those seeds lay in our hearts, and they will bear fruit if we water and nourish them. For those of you who are asking, what should we do now? The answer is to do whatever is in your heart. What lies there is not mere symbolic power. For myself, the more I read about former President Trump's proposed policies, the more I hear his words and ponder them in my heart, the more I believe our most urgent task now is to make sure he does not return to the White House. That conviction is what will determine my vote on Election Day. That which brings together like-minded people in service to a more beautiful world are significant bonds of affection. For the honor you have shown me, my gratitude is as deep as the sea. With all my love. And this is Marianne Williamson. Check her out on Substack. Check her out on her website, which is Marianne Williamson for President, I believe. But she's not running. She's saying goodbye. She's not going to be a voice of chaos. She's not going to be a distraction. But she doesn't sound like she's going to be full-throated for Kamala, although she is full-throated against the election of Donald Trump. So I wanted to share that because, there was hope. There was hope when Biden stepped aside that maybe there would be an open convention. But when that was announced on Sunday that Kamala Harris would be the name, by Monday, there was no hope. Everyone had consolidated behind Kamala. And it meant Democrats who had hoped for something different, especially someone who is on the fringe like Marianne Williamson, had no shot. She came to her senses. She was hoping for a miracle. She didn't get it. But for those of us who love her work as a spiritual teacher, as a meditator, as a guiding force, she's still a voice. And I hope, I don't know. I don't know if there's going to be a place for her in a new Democratic administration. But she definitely represents people who wanted something different in America, in politics. And my hat's off to her for trying, for being in the ring and putting her voice out there and hoping for a political miracle. All right, that's it for us. I'm Emil Guillermo, Emil Amok to you. We like to end with a little meditation, a little semi-guided meditation. It's a little prayer. It's like the loving kindness meta. You put out love, you get love, and it's all about love. Remember, love. It's love. Does love really enter in the picture when it comes to Donald Trump? Think about that. I don't know. So, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Emil Amok to you. Till next time. Mahal.